More dangerous than salt, these two foods together destroy your heart health. Did you know that there are two foods that could be even more dangerous to your heart than salt itself? Yeah, you heard that right. Foods that seem harmless, but together form a deadly duo for your heart. And the scariest part, the consumption of these foods is so normalized that no one suspects a danger. In this video, you'll get to know 16 foods that put your cardiovascular health at risk, and most importantly, you'll find out which are the two worst ones. Their combination accelerates inflammation, spikes blood sugar, messes up hormones, quietly fattens you up, and directly affects your blood vessels. Want to know if you're eating these foods? Then stay with me until the end. Number 16. Packaged cake. It's easy to find a packaged cake at parties, markets, or even at breakfast. But behind the sweet taste and convenience, there's a combination of ingredients that are dangerous for your heart. These cakes are loaded with refined sugar, hydrogenated vegetable oils, and artificial preservatives. Each piece carries an inflammatory load that overloads your body. And when it comes to cardiovascular health, inflammation is always a silent enemy. The vegetable oils used in these products, especially when refined and processed at high temperatures, create an imbalance between omega-6 and omega-3 fats in the body. This imbalance triggers inflammatory processes that damage blood vessels and increase the risk of heart disease. On top of that, these oils often contain residues from chemical solvents used in extraction. In other words, what should be just a snack turns into a trigger for silent inflammation. Another hidden villain in packaged cakes is the excess sugar. When consumed, it quickly spikes glucose and insulin levels in the blood, creating a vicious cycle that wears out the pancreas and causes insulin resistance. This, in turn, directly contributes to fat buildup in the arteries. And the higher this resistance, the greater the risk of developing high blood pressure and coronary artery disease. The sugar plus processed fat combo is a direct blow to your heart. The preservatives and stabilizers in these cakes also deserve attention. Many of them have been linked to changes in the gut microbiota, increased inflammation, and higher cellular oxidative stress. All of this impacts not only your gut, but also the function of your cardiovascular system. It's common to think that an occasional slice doesn't do any harm. But the problem lies in how frequently these products are consumed. Many people have the habit of eating packaged cakes several times a week, especially as a quick snack or dessert. Constant exposure to the same additives, sugars, and inflammatory fats accumulates their effects over time. And the heart, such a vital organ, ends up paying the price. If you love cake, it might be time to rethink your choices. A healthier option is to make homemade versions with natural ingredients, using whole wheat flours, fruits, and healthy fats like olive oil or coconut oil. That way, you take care of your health without giving up the pleasure of eating something tasty. Prioritizing ingredients that nourish instead of inflame is a decision your heart will thank you for. After all, prevention is always easier and sweeter than a cure. Number 15. Donuts. Donuts seem harmless at first glance. Colorful, sugary, and with a flavor that takes you back to childhood, they're a real trap in disguise. Behind the sweetness and crunchiness, there's a combination of ingredients that directly attacks cardiovascular health. The fluffy fried dough, combined with the sugary glaze, is an invitation to metabolic chaos. Each bite represents a negative impact on your heart health. Trans fats are one of the main problems in donuts. These artificial fats, created to increase the shelf life of food, are proven to be inflammatory. They negatively alter the lipid profile, increasing bad cholesterol and lowering good cholesterol. This favors plaque formation in the arteries, making blood flow more difficult. The result? A much higher risk of heart attacks and strokes. In addition to the fats, we have the refined sugars in massive doses. When combined with white flour and frying, they form a high glycemic index food with great inflammatory power. This stimulates glucose and insulin spikes in the blood, favoring visceral fat gain. This fat, which accumulates around the organs, is extremely dangerous for the heart. And continuous consumption only worsens this process. The texture of donuts might be soft, but what happens in your body is the opposite: arterial stiffness. The inflammation caused by the food, combined with lipid oxidation, compromises the elasticity of blood vessels. This stiffening increases blood pressure and reduces the efficiency of the circulatory system. It's like asking more from an engine with clogged filters. Over time, the wear becomes irreversible. Donuts are, therefore, a classic example of how taste can deceive. The combination of sugar, trans fat, and additives turns what seems like an innocent snack into a cardiovascular villain. Number 14. Milk chocolate. Milk chocolate is one of the most consumed sweets in the world. Its flavor is addictive, its marketing is strong, and its presence on holidays is almost mandatory. But when it comes to heart health, it leaves a lot to be desired. Unlike dark chocolate, which has some health benefits, milk chocolate is highly processed and full of harmful ingredients. Sugar, saturated fat, and synthetic additives make up a large part of its formula. One of the main concerns is the high sugar content in these products. This excessive addition causes blood sugar spikes and stimulates excessive insulin production, disrupting metabolism. The consequence of this is increased triglyceride levels and fat buildup in the arteries. All of this silently and constantly harms cardiovascular health. Eating milk chocolate regularly is like feeding inflammation every day. The saturated fat found in the milk and cocoa butter used in this type of chocolate also deserves attention. Excessive amounts of this fat raise bad cholesterol levels in the blood. When LDL cholesterol increases, so does the risk of fat plaques forming in the walls of arteries. These plaques make it harder for blood to pass through, potentially leading to high blood pressure, heart attacks, and strokes. And all of that can come from a simple chocolate bar. Another important point is the chemical additives in commercial versions. Flavorings, preservatives, and emulsifiers offer no nutritional benefit and can generate oxidative stress in the body. This directly impacts the health of blood vessels and the heart, creating an environment that promotes chronic inflammatory diseases. And what should be a treat for your taste buds becomes a burden on your body. Of course, eating milk chocolate occasionally won't land you straight in the hospital. But constant and uncontrolled consumption is highly harmful. If you want a healthier alternative, opt for chocolate with a high cocoa content and no added sugar. Number 13. Regular soda. Few products are as common as sodas. They're in daily meals celebrations and are often consumed in place of water. But behind the bubbles and sweet flavor lies one of the biggest enemies of metabolic and cardiovascular health. Regular soda is a dangerous mix of sugar, acids, and chemical additives that causes a complete breakdown in the body. And unfortunately, many consume it with no idea of the damage it's causing. One of the main problems is the incredibly high sugar content, especially concentrated fructose, which is widely used. This form of sugar not only contributes to weight gain, but also promotes insulin resistance. The pancreas is forced to work beyond its limit, and the liver starts accumulating fat. This creates systemic inflammation that directly affects the heart. It's like throwing fuel on the fire of metabolic imbalance. Regular soda consumption is linked to increased triglycerides and elevated LDL cholesterol. In addition, the acids in these drinks, such as phosphoric acid, affect the absorption of important minerals like calcium and magnesium. This weakens the body as a whole, including the cardiovascular system. And as if that wasn't enough, these drinks also reduce the body's hydration, which is essential for heart health. The effect of sodas goes far beyond sugar. They alter the gut microbiota, impair kidney function, and elevate oxidative stress in the body. Over time, this contributes to chronic inflammation that slowly eats away at health. It's like drinking poison in small daily doses. And often, this poison is consumed in big gulps with plenty of ice. Number 12. Industrialized candy. Industrialized candies are small, sweet, and easy to consume, but the impact they have on health is far from harmless. These products are almost entirely made up of refined sugar, chemical additives, and artificial colorings. There are no fibers, vitamins, or any real nutritional value. What's there is a cocktail that silently inflames the body. And when this inflammation becomes constant, the cardiovascular system is one of the first to suffer. The sugar in candies quickly enters the bloodstream, causing glucose spikes and requiring the pancreas to release insulin. This repeated process leads to insulin resistance and favors the accumulation of visceral fat. This fat, which deposits around the organs, is extremely dangerous and inflammatory. It contributes to clogged arteries and increases the risk of heart attacks and strokes. In addition to the sugar, the artificial colorings in these sweets are linked to inflammatory reactions in the body, especially in people who are sensitive or predisposed to chronic diseases. These colorings aren't just unnecessary, they're toxic in many cases. Over time, the continuous consumption of candies with these ingredients can create a state of low-grade, constant inflammation that favors heart disease. Another concerning ingredient is high fructose corn syrup, found in many industrialized candies. It has been linked to increased liver fat, oxidative stress, and changes in lipid metabolism. All these factors directly impact the heart. The candy may be small, but its effects are huge and cumulative. It's like consuming a problem in a colorful package. It's common to see people offering candies to kids or consuming one after lunch as a treat. But the truth is, this treat comes at a high cost to the body. The more frequently it's consumed, the greater the negative impact on health. And if candies cause all this, imagine the two foods that are the worst of all, the real champions of heart damage. They'll be revealed in the last chapter, so stay tuned until the end. Number 11. Sweet cupcakes. Colorful, decorated, and with an irresistible aroma, sweet cupcakes seem harmless, but they're a real trap in disguise. Small in size, big in damage, these little cakes pack sugar, saturated fat, and refined flour in alarming proportions. When combined, these ingredients create a food with an extremely high glycemic load. And that's exactly what turns cupcakes into silent aggressors of the heart. When you eat a cupcake, your body responds with a rapid rise in blood glucose levels. This triggers an insulin spike, overloading the metabolic system. This constant behavior promotes insulin resistance and abdominal fat buildup. And this fat, especially when located in the visceral region, is one of the main risk factors for heart disease. Eating sweets like this every day is like building a silent time bomb. The ingredients used in industrialized cupcakes usually include margarines with hydrogenated fats, artificial sweeteners, and preservatives. Each of these components is linked to inflammatory processes in the body. Chronic inflammation, even at low levels, is enough to damage the walls of arteries and compromise blood flow. This combination makes cupcakes a constant threat to those seeking to preserve cardiovascular health. Another alarming point is the topping. Ready-made fillings and frostings contain colorings, emulsifiers, and an even higher dose of sugar. The pretty appearance hides a true cocktail of chemicals that don't nourish, they only inflame. Instead of offering energy and nutrients, the cupcake assaults the body, impairing its efficiency and increasing the risk of conditions like hypertension and atherosclerosis. While occasional consumption doesn't pose an immediate risk, the problem is the regularity with which these foods appear in the daily lives of many people. Celebrations, school snacks, desserts, cupcakes are everywhere. And over time, the body feels the consequences. If you're trying to avoid heart problems, it might be time to rethink your choices. And wait, what's worse is still coming. Number 10. Condensed milk. Sweet, creamy, and extremely versatile, condensed milk is found in desserts, toppings, and even as a filling. But its composition makes it one of the most dangerous foods for those concerned about heart health. With a very high sugar and saturated fat content, it creates a metabolic explosion that requires intense effort from the body. With each spoonful, an overload quietly settles into the cardiovascular system. The concentrated sugar in condensed milk causes intense glycemic spikes. This forces the body to release large amounts of insulin in a short amount of time, which increases the risk of insulin resistance. This resistance favors the formation of fat plaques in the arteries, raising the chances of a heart attack. Additionally, excess sugar generates advanced glycation end products, which age tissues and harm blood vessels. The saturated fat present in the formulation also contributes to the increase of LDL cholesterol, known as bad cholesterol. This is especially dangerous when combined with the inflammation caused by the sugar. The combined effect of these two factors is devastating. Clogged arteries, compromised circulation, and a real risk of severe cardiovascular events. A sweet pleasure that comes at a very high price for health. Another worrying aspect of condensed milk is its caloric density. Small amounts concentrate many calories, which, if not used, turn into body fat. And most common type of fat in this scenario is visceral fat, which surrounds the organs and is directly linked to cardiovascular risk. In an inflamed body, the heart silently suffers. Although it's tempting to use condensed milk in recipes and desserts, it's important to remember that its impact goes beyond the taste. It compromises metabolism, favors weight gain, and accelerates systemic inflammatory processes. Over time, these effects create a dangerous scenario for the heart. And if you thought these effects were alarming, wait until you see what's still to come. Number 9. Sweet microwave popcorn. Sweet microwave popcorn seems like a practical option for snacks and movies, but it hides serious risks for cardiovascular health. Unlike traditional popcorn, it goes through an industrial process that adds sugar, hydrogenated fat, and artificial flavorings. These ingredients, when heated at high temperatures, release toxic compounds into the body. One of the biggest villains in this type of popcorn are trans fats, often found in the oils and artificial butters in the product. These fats negatively alter the lipid profile, raising bad cholesterol and lowering good cholesterol. This accelerates artery clogging, directly compromising circulation and increasing the risk of diseases like heart attacks and strokes. And the worst part, all of this can happen with no evident symptoms at first. In addition to the fats, the excess sugar in this industrialized popcorn quickly raises blood glucose levels. This triggers an immediate inflammatory response, especially dangerous for those already prone to heart disease. The high glycemic load contributes to the formation of fat plaques in blood vessels. It's like launching a coordinated attack on your circulatory system. The artificial flavorings used to give it a caramel or butter taste are another critical point. Compounds like diacetyl and other flavorings have already been linked to respiratory diseases and inflammation. The body recognizes these additives as invaders and responds with oxidative stress, which directly affects the integrity of blood vessels and cellular function. And all this happens in an apparently innocent package. This sweet popcorn is a true explosive mix of fat, sugar, and harmful additives. Frequent consumption contributes to chronic inflammation and metabolic overload. Replacing it with natural versions made at home with simple ingredients can be a big step in preserving your heart. And speaking of preserving your heart, don't forget, the 2 most dangerous foods for it will be revealed in the last chapter. And the revelation promises to change your view on food. Number 8. Sweet bread. Sweet bread is a classic on many tables, consumed at breakfast or as an afternoon snack. Its mild flavor and soft texture make it an irresistible food. However, its composition combines refined white flour, sugar, and fat, a dangerous trio for cardiovascular health. Contrary to what it seems, this food can be a silent agent in the deterioration of your health. The problem starts with refined flour, which is quickly digested and turned into glucose. This generates insulin spikes that favor the accumulation of body fat, especially visceral fat. This fat accumulates around the organs and is highly inflammatory, contributing to the development of heart disease. The more frequently consumed, the higher the risk of insulin resistance and metabolic dysfunction. Sugar, which is widely present in this type of bread, only intensifies this scenario. It stimulates internal inflammation and alters the balance of cholesterol and triglyceride levels. This creates an environment favorable to plaque buildup in the arteries. And if the bread also comes with sweet fillings or toppings, the effects are amplified, reaching critical levels of metabolic impact. Another dangerous ingredient is the fat used in the dough, especially in industrial versions. Many brands use margarine with hydrogenated fat to give the bread texture. As we've seen, this type of fat is extremely harmful to the cardiovascular system. It increases bad cholesterol and worsens artery health, compromising blood flow and raising the risks of heart complications. Number 7. Industrialized ice cream. Ice cream is a symbol of pleasure, refreshment, and celebration. But when it comes to industrial versions, the scenario completely changes. Most of these versions contain high levels of sugar, hydrogenated fat, and chemical additives. When consumed, these ingredients trigger a real cascade of inflammatory reactions. As harmless as it may seem, industrial ice cream is a declared enemy of the heart. Sugar is the main component of ice cream, and its excess is directly linked to the increase in body fat and insulin resistance. This favors the development of type 2 diabetes and artery clogging. Additionally, sugar fuels inflammatory processes that affect blood vessels, making them less flexible and more prone to damage. The sweetness quietly turns into a chronic problem. The hydrogenated fats added to the ice cream to improve its texture and preservation are even more dangerous. These artificial fats alter cholesterol levels, raising LDL and lowering HDL, which promotes fat plaque buildup in the arteries. This reduces blood flow, increases blood pressure, and can trigger events like heart attacks and strokes. And all of this can start with a frozen dessert. The additives and colorings used to enhance color and flavor also negatively contribute to health. Many of them promote oxidative stress, a process that weakens cells and accelerates the aging of the cardiovascular system. Over time, the frequent consumption of industrialized ice cream adds to other risk factors and significantly increases the chance of severe heart problems. Artisanal ice cream, made with natural ingredients and without additives, can be a healthier alternative. But industrial versions, consumed regularly, are a metabolic bomb. Understanding this is essential to make informed choices. And if you think ice cream is bad, get ready, The two most harmful foods for the heart are still to come, and they will be revealed at the end of this video. Number 6. Box juice. Box juice seems like a healthy choice at first glance, but the reality is quite different. Even when labeled as natural or no added sugar, it carries a metabolic trap, high fructose concentration, and the absence of fiber. Unlike whole fruit, which releases sugar slowly into the body, ready-made juice causes rapid and intense glucose spikes, compromising cardiovascular health in the long term. Besides concentrated fructose, many industrialized juices contain artificial sweeteners, colorings, preservatives, and flavorings. These compounds not only don't nourish, but also inflame the body. Excess fructose is processed by the liver and tends to be converted into fat, promoting fatty liver disease, a condition directly linked to heart problems. What should be refreshing actually becomes, in practice, a fuel for inflammation. Another critical point is the lack of fiber. Whole fruit contains fibers that help regulate sugar absorption and feed beneficial gut bacteria. In box juice, this protection is eliminated during the industrial process. As a result, the sugar hits the bloodstream quickly, prompting an immediate inflammatory response. This contributes to endothelial dysfunction, one of the first steps toward heart disease. The high glycemic index of these juices also directly influences insulin resistance, a condition that affects metabolism and is at the core of obesity, high blood pressure, and arteriosclerosis. Drinking industrialized juices daily is like consuming several spoonfuls of liquid sugar. And since these drinks are seen as innocent, the risk is even greater. The consumption is continuous, disguised as health. Switching from box juice to lemon water, natural iced tea, or freshly made juice, with moderation and fiber, can make a huge difference. These simple swaps relieve metabolic stress and favor heart health. Number 5. Polished white rice. White rice is one of the most common foods in meals worldwide, but it's also one of the most dangerous for glycemic balance. After being polished, the grain loses almost all of its nutrients, fiber, vitamins, and minerals, and becomes pure starch. This means that when consumed, it quickly turns into glucose, raising blood sugar levels aggressively. This glycemic spike requires an intense release of insulin, and over time, this repeated pattern can lead to insulin resistance. This condition is the first step toward a series of metabolic disorders, including abdominal obesity, metabolic syndrome, and, of course, heart disease. White rice, consumed in isolation and in large quantities, actively contributes to the buildup of visceral fat, the most dangerous for the heart. Another negative effect of white rice is related to satiety. Being low in fiber, it's quickly digested, which causes hunger shortly afterward and may lead to overeating. This dynamic affects appetite control, contributing to weight gain. Excess weight, in turn, overloads the circulatory system and increases blood pressure, one of the main triggers for cardiovascular events. The absence of micronutrients in white rice also weakens the body in the long term. Without magnesium, zinc, or B vitamins, the body has fewer tools to control inflammation and maintain the integrity of blood vessels. The food that should nourish ends up only filling your plate, offering no protection to the heart. It's abundant, cheap, and popular, and that's exactly why it's so dangerous when consumed without balance. The good news is that there are simple substitutions like brown rice, keto rice, or mixed versions with vegetables and fiber. These options reduce the glycemic impact and provide nutrients that help protect the heart. Number 4. GMO corn with no salt. GMO corn, especially in its ultra-processed versions, has become an omnipresent ingredient in the food industry. It shows up in snacks, crackers, flours, and even sweeteners. And while many people associate corn with a natural and harmless food, what ends up on the plate in industrialized form is often a combination of oxidized fat, chemical additives, and refined carbohydrates. One of the biggest dangers of processed GMO corn lies in the vegetable oils extracted from it. When exposed to high temperatures, these oils oxidize and form inflammatory substances that directly affect the blood vessels. This type of chronic inflammation is a deciding factor in the development of heart disease, as it weakens the arteries and promotes clogging. In addition to the oils, products derived from GMO corn often contain colorings, preservatives, and stabilizers, which also promote oxidative stress. The body interprets these substances as assaults, triggering continuous inflammatory responses. This silent scenario accumulates over the years until it manifests as hypertension, arteriosclerosis, or heart failure. Another concerning aspect is the high glycemic index of products made from refined corn. Just like white rice, they cause insulin spikes and favor weight gain, especially in the abdominal area. And as we know, visceral fat is one of the main predictors of cardiovascular risk. The false feeling of satiety these products offer only masks the true metabolic impact. Opting for whole, organic, or simple corn preparations can be a smarter choice. But industrialized versions made from GMO corn should be approached with caution, especially if you want to protect your heart health. And speaking of protection, the two biggest cardiovascular villains are still to come. Stay with me until the last chapter for this impactful revelation. Number 3. Instant noodles without seasoning or salt. A lot of people believe that by discarding the seasoning packet from instant noodles, the food becomes harmless. But that's a dangerous myth. Even without salt, the noodles themselves are made of ultra-refined flour, additives, and often partially hydrogenated vegetable oils. The dough goes through an industrial process that removes nutrients and concentrates empty calories, a devastating combination for the heart. The high glycemic index of this type of noodle means that, once consumed, it almost immediately turns into glucose in the blood. This forces the pancreas to release insulin in large quantities, promoting resistance over time. And as a result, the body begins to accumulate visceral fat. This fat, which surrounds vital organs, is a key factor in increasing the risk of cardiovascular diseases. Besides the glycemic impact, instant noodles are low in fiber and essential nutrients like magnesium, potassium, and antioxidants. Without these elements, the body loses its natural ability to fight inflammation and regulate blood pressure. This metabolic imbalance is dangerous because it happens silently, gradually compromising the heart, but steadily and constantly. Another problem is the pre-cooked texture of the noodles, which makes it easy to consume too much. Since they don't create true satiety, it's common for people to eat larger portions without realizing it. This further amplifies the glycemic and caloric impacts, encouraging weight gain. And since overweight is directly linked to increased blood pressure, we have another route of attack on the cardiovascular system. Even without the seasoning, instant noodles remain one of the most harmful ultra-processed foods for health. The idea that it becomes healthy once the seasoning is discarded is misleading and puts many people at risk. Replacing it with whole grain noodles with vegetables, olive oil, and natural protein sources is a smarter and safer route. But if you thought this food was dangerous, know that there are still two that are even worse, and they're in the upcoming chapters. Number 2. Sugary breakfast cereal. Colorful and sweet breakfast cereals are part of the daily routine for millions of people, especially at breakfast. However, behind the image of convenience and flavor, there are ingredients that deeply harm the heart. Made with refined flours, large amounts of sugar, and artificial additives, these products are real metabolic bombs, especially when consumed regularly. The first trap lies in the sugar content. Many cereals have as much or more sugar than a dessert. This causes intense glycemic spikes, overloading the pancreas and initiating silent inflammatory processes in the body. This constant metabolic stress favors fat accumulation in the arteries, creating a perfect environment for the development of serious heart disease. In addition to sugar, the cereals are made from refined flours that lose their fibers during the industrial process. Without fiber, digestion is sped up, and the glycemic impact worsens even more. The result is an abrupt release of glucose into the bloodstream, accompanied by an inflammatory response harmful to the blood vessels. Over time, this leads to the loss of arterial elasticity, a critical factor for high blood pressure and heart attacks. The presence of colorings, flavorings, and preservatives also deserves attention. Many of these additives negatively affect the gut microbiota and generate oxidative stress. This combination directly influences the health of the cardiovascular system, which depends on stable metabolism and a healthy cellular environment to function properly. With so many daily attacks, the heart has no time to recover. Number 1. Sweet sandwich cookies. Sweet sandwich cookies are, for many, a daily treat. Cheap, easy to find, and highly palatable, they're eaten by children, teens, and adults alike. But this apparent innocence hides one of the worst combinations possible for the cardiovascular system: refined sugar, hydrogenated fat, and white flour. These three ingredients together form a coordinated attack against the heart. The high sugar in these cookies causes a glucose explosion in the body. This forces the body to release large amounts of insulin, favoring the accumulation of abdominal fat and promoting insulin resistance. This metabolic scenario is the gateway to diseases like type 2 diabetes, high blood pressure, and metabolic syndrome, all factors directly linked to cardiovascular collapse. The hydrogenated fat, found in the filling and even in the cookie dough, is another major villain. This fat, also known as trans fat, raises bad cholesterol and lowers good cholesterol, negatively altering the lipid profile. It also promotes inflammation and arterial stiffness, which seriously compromises blood flow and increases the risk of heart attacks and strokes. The refined flour, in turn, completes this destructive trio. Is quickly digested, creating an effect similar to pure sugar. Frequent consumption of sandwich cookies compromises the elasticity of blood vessels, raises blood pressure, and favors the formation of atherosclerotic plaques. In practical terms, it speeds up the aging of the heart, arteries, and entire circulatory system. And if you want to keep getting the best videos for your health, subscribe to the channel, because it exists for one reason only: to make you a healthier person with a better quality of life. Helping you is my mission. In the video now appearing on your screen, I reveal the 2 fruits that together fight cancer. Click on the screen and check it out. So, see you in the next video.